Okay, welcome back to Youthpad. In studio today, I have Mr. John Kamau, an innovator, and of course we are discussing about youth and innovation. Okay, Mr. Kamau, looking at education system in the country, do you think there's a problem where young people to innovate, it could have started maybe in primary school, or rather high school going forward?
So I think the system failed.
Or rather, is there a need to?
Yeah, actually there is a need, because I feel the system has failed as from the younger stage. Because the innovation part, for example, when I was in primary school at the earlier age, we used to do modeling, art and craft, all those things. And how I wish that these things were developed up as we move from class 4, primary school and high school up to the university, because this started only when we were young and stopped. So if we can be taught these things as from we were young, and you grow up or following and doing these things, it will be better. So the education system needs to focus a lot on innovations and inventions. How can they help young people as young as in lower school, in lower grades, and they're able now to come up with that culture of innovation and inventions. So at the later stage, this is something that I have done for the last 20 years. These are things I've seen for the last 20 years, and up the road, I'll have been able to know I'm good in this and not in this. So by the time you are old enough now to probably start your own corporation, you'd have known, you'd have gone through the system and you're better in it.
Yes, so getting deeper into the subject of innovation, how do you see it play out? Do you see some engagement of young people, maybe from, do we do it from maybe university level or high school going upwards? Innovation, it's not about building big corporation or big services or big inventions. No matter how small it is, if you grow up with that tendency of doing such things, later on, at a later stage, you'll be better off. So I wouldn't say that we start the innovation part when we are in primary school or when we are in, we need to teach it from the early stages. From inception, from when these kids go to nursery school, show them how to draw, show them how to do all these things, then grow with that culture up the stream. By the time these innovators are of age, they will have done something marvelous. So we need to have the whole system capture all these things. So on the education sector, what do you think can be done to enhance innovation?
So I would say we need to have, for example, as I said, we need to have resources, so that these young people, because they have a lot of free time when they're in high school and universities, they need now to interact with machineries, with computers, fast speed computers. They need to be able to print what they have. So we need to provide all these services. And as I said, if, for example, there is a car assembly, we need to have a car assembly that is set up maybe next to a university, or a similar car assembly in a university. So these students will be able to know how are these things assembled, and how probably they can come up with an easier service or an easier process of producing the same. So we need these young people to interact with these things, not only when they go for attachment, for example in universities, but we need them totally to interact. If you're in an engineering school, there need to be a workshop where you can interact with all these things, because you find in most universities we don't have these workshops. But most of these workshops are actually in books, or they have the real workshops that are there in universities have very few equipments. So we need to make sure that we don't just get thousands of students graduating every year, but we need to make sure that they are resourceful. We have universities that have been, and especially a big university in Nairobi that built a building 2 years ago. And after producing for over 40 years, engineers for over 40 years, they couldn't even entrust their own to build the whole building. So you feel we've been producing people who don't have the capacity to do things. So it's really not just getting graduates every year. We need to make sure that they come out of these universities with something they can do. Because most of us, we came out, and it's only after now interacting with the companies, our first jobs, that we realized that we can do something, or we can maybe solve a certain problem. But if we came up with this knowledge out of the universities, probably we could be far from where we are. So we need to teach them, and we need a lot of exposure.
Sure.
And still on universities, we need to have free advices, and also to have people who've made it in the fields of innovations. So these people can come tell us that in a certain point I failed, so that we know when we fail, other people failed as well.
Sure.
So when I fail, I know it's a step in this. Because most of us, we come up with good ideas, but when we fail for the first time, we forget about all those ideas. And for us to be entrepreneurs and for us to be innovators, that part asks for a lot of finances. Not much, but you need finances on that part. But for the invention part, you don't need finances.
Yeah.
Because these are ideas in your mind. You start writing them down, you come up with something. But now to make that something a reality, that's when you need now to be an innovator or maybe an entrepreneur. At this point, you need to risk take. You need funds to put up to now pump into this business. So basically, if this thing is taught and we have resources, government in universities and in schools are able to provide facilities and environment and an ecosystem for us to be able to now interact with these systems, then we'll be okay now to do our own inventions and better.
So don't you think we need financial support when it comes to innovation?
So as I said, yes, we need finances, because finances, in terms of finances, cannot be totally, we cannot say finances as money.
Not 100%?
Not 100% finances. If for example you set up areas where electricity is free for youths to come up and test for example their devices, that will be better. If you can provide water for youths, maybe who want to set up fish ponds and all that, yeah. Or maybe they still need water for their inventions. If you're able to provide areas with all these amenities, and maybe the prices are a bit lower, more youths will also indulge in this, and out of it we'll get a lot of inventions. Then once we have these inventions, support them. We have Chandaria Business Center where a student can go there, showcase their ideas, and probably get loans, or investors who want to invest in those ideas. So if we can now roll out a similar ideas more to the counties, then this will be better. Other than that, the only place I will find a similar facility probably is in Nairobi, and probably I have to be a Kenyatta University student or maybe totally grown in the education system for me to access such a facility. So if you are able to have facilities, even vocation training centers in the villages, okay, that will be better, because we will be able now to interact and also do testing to our inventions.
So from your experience, do you think there's some of the hindrances to innovation among the youth? Mm-hmm. Do you think there are some of the hindrances?
Yeah, there are. One of them, of course, is the education system. Of course, we'll always roll around the education system. The other thing is exposure. And it's the same thing also the education system gives you. But there is also another exposure that is given when you are able now to interact with the corporate world. When you're able now to have your first job, at this point now you are able to see problems faced by corporations and you will try to solve them. So exposure, education system, finances. So we need finances to do most of the things, because when inventions takes a lot of time. I've done several softwares on my own, and these things will take a lot of time. And these are ideas you see, and now you want to turn them into a digital world, so that they become easier it's easier for people to access them and to use them. So you have to interact with people so that you are able now to set up the process. Once you do this, this is the next point, this is the next point. So you need a schematic way of doing things, but the only way you can learn them is involving yourself with the corporate world, with the system. So they said education, exposure, talk of finances, talk of resources. I need electricity, I don't have it. So provide those resources to the youths and they will come up with something big.
Okay, as we wind up, do you think the government has accorded the necessary support as far to the youth as far as innovation is concerned?
I'll say no, because most of us youths, as I said, there are very few centers where you can showcase your ideas and maybe they are supported. Very few places that you can do that. So the government has not accorded the full support to the youths in terms of innovations, because education system in a way has not been able, because in universities we are not taught these things. We only I'm a bachelor holder of applied statistics, and most of it what we learned were all mathematics. There wasn't much of what we can do with those mathematics. What part of the society
can what I've learned help how can I help the society? This was not accorded to me and most people. So you'd feel that the education system in a way has failed. So the government needs to make sure that there is more of helping entrepreneurs and innovators in education system. That said, I would also talk of finances. They need now to roll out and make sure that these finances reach the right people, because we've had funds that have been set up by government, pretty good funds with good promises, but they never reach the intended people. That's why we probably, there is nothing much we can say of funds that were given to people and helped a lot. So I'll say yes, in some cases we've had ideas that have been supported and come up big. There are others that have gone down, and that is the price that you have to pay for supporting the innovations, because some of them will see the light of the day, some of them will fail, some of them will work. There are those people in the 18s that invented the wheels. It's only when the wheels were used on cars, in machineries, in industries, that became useful. But really inventing a wheel wasn't much, but the use became much better. So it all depends on how much we put into this, and we have to smoothen the process to make sure that if we decide these are the funds that we are giving to the youths, we make sure that these funds reach the right people.
Okay, John, what can be done? What can be done to ensure that innovation becomes part and parcel of the Kenyan culture? Bearing in mind that you've talked about on the government support, and if or not they've accorded support to the innovation to the young people.
So what I can say to make sure that this culture lives with us is we make sure that everyone takes it upon themselves to support the youths. This being given your own parents, the community, and everyone. So we need to make sure that we are supporting the youths in all their endeavors. If they come up with projects, it's good to listen. For the entrepreneurs and the capital owners, we need also to support the ideas that these guys have, and not even to steal the ideas from them and go copyright them. So it's good that if they have ideas, we support them. We make sure that they live to see their dreams happen. And this is a call to the community, to parents, to government, to everyone. Let's support the youths. They're the future. And as we said, the future of every country is internet. The future of every country is the youths. And if we come up together and support the youths, I think this country has a bright future.
Okay, so what's your parting shot, even as we wind up this conversation?
My call goes to the youth. If you're working in a certain corporation or you are in your community, think of something that can improve the livelihood of the people. Think of something better that you can do. It might not be totally profit motivated, but it's something that adds value to the community. It's a legacy that you leave. It's something that you do so that even generations that will come after you will know that you lived and you did something that still then, even in their times, it's still helping them. Most of the inventions that were done many years ago, most of the people who did those inventions never saw them come to life. But even when they are long gone, we still celebrate them for what they did, and they improved lives. So it's not about us, it's about what we do to people and what legacy we'll leave. We won't always be youths. Time will pass when we cannot relate with the issues that are happening on our times. So that time will come. So as for the youths at this age, you need to make sure that things that are happening in the community, you can now see them in a different angle to kind of now finding the shortcoming of those things and trying now to get solution to those issues. Basically, youths, they have the power to do everything. Power to everything, to change lives, to make better processes, easier processes. So all these, and they're the manpower of this country. So youths out there, go out there, do things that you feel will add value to people.
Okay, thank you so much, Bwana John Kamau.
Yes.
Once again for making time to come around and also just to come and share your ideas as far as innovation, youth and innovation is concerned. Okay, thank you so much for watching Youthpad. My name is Francis Ngala. Remember, you can send us your feedback through our social media handles at KAKTV_Kenya and Facebook KAKTV. Stay safe and sanitize and wash your hands.